Hey everybody, it's quarantine time. It's Thursday. I'm Mike Henry, and we've been talking this week with a lot of comedy people. My thing that I like to do is talk about following passion to the life that you want to live. And we've talked to a lot of funny people this week. Rob Hubel on Monday, Seth Green on Tuesday, Jenny Johnson last night. I have a hilarious comic named Adam Ray coming up tomorrow night. All these have been at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. And tonight I have a guy that I've known since 1991, Chris Franjola. And I know you've probably seen his work if you're a fan of comedy. He's freaking hilarious. We met in a stand-up comedy workshop. I had just moved to LA from Virginia. He had just, I think, recently moved to LA from the New York area, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, or we'll talk about that. And so Chris has been doing stand-up for about 30 years, and he you may know him from Chelsea Lately. He did a lot of spots on Chelsea Lately for a long time. I think like 8 years, maybe something like that. And he's currently got a podcast called Cover to Cover, which is awesome. And he's also a big contributor to the Juicy Scoop, Heather McDonald's podcast. And you can catch him on Lights Out with David Spade. He's always on there. And look at this guy.
Wow.
It's a whole lot of handsome right there.
Yeah, that's right.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Mike. Thank you. Coming to you live from my garage where I'm hiding from inside the house. Yeah.
All right. Have you been working on your car or?
No, just hiding.
You're just hiding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're not the kind of guy that sneaks out back, so I don't think you're out there huffing glue or anything. You're just kind of
No, not yet. But give me a couple more weeks of this, and I might.
Okay. Who are you hiding from?
My wife.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
How long have you been married, Chris?
I've been married for a year and a half.
Nice. Where was my invitation? I don't know.
It was a very small wedding,
Okay.
Very small.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great.
Are you in Virginia currently?
I am currently in Virginia. Yeah. We're locked down here. It's actually quite nice here because the weather's turning and it's nice, and there's a lot of green, there's a lot of air. There's a lot of air. So we're happy to be here right now, but I always love LA. And so I sort of briefed you a little bit on the conversation tonight. I'm kind of into this thing where I like talking about living your best life, it's a cliche, but I think we are two people that have followed our passion for comedy that's kind of guided us with what we're doing for a living and a lot of our lives. So,
right. And it's hard to do. I mean, I think you said it a little bit that you and I started out in some comedy class many, many years ago.
Yeah, the Judy Carter stand-up comedy workshop.
Right. But I mean, from that class, I think you and I are the only two who've gone on to have a career in comedy.
I think so. Yeah. So how long? When did you? All right. So let's back it up. So you grew up in Long Island?
I did. Grew up in Long Island. Yeah. East End of Long Island.
And so you had brothers and sisters?
I have 3 brothers, all boys. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, and your parents, like, what did your dad do for a living? Like, what was the setup?
Electrician,
Okay.
Regular guy, electrician. Mom was a nurse.
Okay.
Fine life, good life. They're still going strong. Now they're down in Myrtle Beach. They go back and forth between New York and Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
But yeah, everything's good.
So where did you fall in the age rank of the 4 brothers?
I fell in 3rd.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So were all your brothers, are they funny guys? I mean, were you
funny guys, not professionally, but yeah, very funny guys. But they never had any desire to do it professionally.
Okay.
They never really, no desire to, none of my family does.
So with a lot of a lot of siblings, were you all sort of clamoring for attention, or was it like where did
No,
where'd your
no.
comedy stem from? What do you remember first about making people laugh?
I always liked hanging around with my friends on Long Island. We were always funny. I don't know if they even use this term anymore. I don't know if you used it in Virginia, but we used to use a term called rank out. You remember
Okay.
that?
No. What
Yeah,
is it?
and that would be like a thing we would do to to be funny. It was like almost like roasting kind of thing. And
Mm.
that's what we did.
So it was
And I
breaking
mean, I was never
rules.
like overly funny in that world.
Okay.
I mean, I watched Letterman. I think when I first started watching like Late Night with David Letterman, like NBC Late Night with David Letterman,
Right.
I was young. I was staying up, till 11:30, whenever it came on, way
Right.
back. And that's when I realized, like, oh, I need to get in this world.
So did you like regurgitate jokes that you would hear on there for your buddies, or like did you mimic stuff? Like back in the day, I would always imitate Steve Martin, and I found stuff that I
Yeah,
thought was hilarious, and I would just kind of say it to my friends, and therefore I was hilarious.
I think so. I think I pretty much did early on, and even in my early stand-up, I pretty much did like a Letterman impression almost,
Okay.
kind of.
All right. Tell me if you want to break it out. I won't put you on the spot.
I mean, it was just the cadence that I think a lot of people did. Just his cadence and his
Right.
way of his whole kind of thing. I mean, honestly, if you ever watch Dave's stand up, he'd be the first to say it. I think he wasn't a great stand up. He was a great talk show host, but never a great stand up.
Right. Right.
So,
Um, I've never thought it was very funny. No, I'm just kidding. I think he's fucking hilarious.
yeah,
I saw a taping of Letterman's whenever back in the mid '90s, I guess, and so he was out warming up the crowd, and some lady he was taking some questions, and some lady said, "Would you be available to come on and talk to the whatever the fuck my organization is back in Pennsylvania on April blah 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 blah?" And he's like, "Oh wait, what date is it? What date is it?" She goes, "April 3rd." He's like, no way in the world. And
yeah.
he just like, he freaking owned it.
Oh, he was the best. He was the best. It's amazing to me that now I talk to like some young comedians, guys who open for me and feature for me on the road, and they have no idea who Letterman is. Like
Right.
that's how quickly this shit changes.
Kids are stupid as shit, right?
Stupid as shit, but these aren't even kids. These are, we're getting into 27, 28, and they don't know who Letterman is,
Right.
which is shitty.
Right. Yeah, you got to
And
know your
probably
history.
you mentioned Steve Martin. Like they don't even know Steve Martin. They don't. It's
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, there was no bigger stand-up comedy rock star than Steve Martin in the 70s. He just hit
He was the
Nirvana.
first. He was the first and the only for a long time that
Yeah.
played the Garden. Madison Square. I think up until like Dice Clay did it.
Right.
Steve Martin was the only other one. Now there's quite a few guys who've done it, but up until that point, Steve Martin was the only one who ever did it for almost 20 years before
Right.
Dice did it.
Right. So, all right. So you thought people were funny. You were getting your chops with your buddies, and
Yeah.
so did you? I guess you were kind of a cut up in high school, and would you?
Then
Were
it
you
started
pretty much
there.
the funniest
Yeah.
guy in your class?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, in my little world,
Yeah.
I was like a theater kid. I was down doing plays and stuff. So
Okay.
in that world, I was funny.
Right. Right.
I just couldn't wait to get to like L.A. or New York. I went to New York City for a little while, but I mostly started in L.A. when
Yes.
when I met you.
Yeah. So how
Really?
like did you move right after high school, or did you go to New York, or what did you do?
I know I was an electrician in New York City for a little while, and then I moved. I was probably about 2 years after high school, 2 or 3 years after high school. I came to L.A.
Okay. And what year was that?
I came to L.A. God, I think it was 89,
Okay.
90.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
moved out in '90.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was right there, same time.
So did you immediately start getting up and doing your 5 minutes at the coffee roasters, or
I did. I started to get up at that, at the Comedy Store. I think it was, I forget what night it was, Tuesday nights or something.
Okay.
And it was terrible. I mean, it was the worst. And then I took that Judy Carter class where I met, and I felt like that kind of set me. That's what I know. A lot of people shit on comedy classes and stuff, but I
Sure.
think for the reason of like meeting other comedians and kind of finding a way
Yeah.
to do it, it's good for that.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. We joke about that, but And just for anybody that's just tuning in, I'm talking with my good friend Chris Franjola, who I met in 1991 at the Judy Carter Stand-Up Comedy Workshop a year after I'd moved to LA. And I remember, so there might be, I don't know if anyone out here is an aspiring comic or thinking about making a big change out of a day-to-day grind that they're feeling that they want to go and do something else. But, taking that leap is a big deal. And I did that in '90. I quit an advertising career that was a 1-year-old, but it was sort of the whole world that I knew. And I packed up my Jetta and I freaking drove to LA.
And you were in Virginia at the time?
I had been in Virginia, yeah. And so I literally knew no one out there. I just wanted to go and be funny. I always felt this little thing inside just saying, man, go be the next Steve Martin. Go be the next Chevy Chase.
And your hope was stand-up as well? I mean, you never really went into like true
I didn't go hardcore.
Stand-up.
No. I wasn't quite clear. I had seen David Lynch's Wild at Heart, and so filmmaking was sort of a thing that I wanted to do. And then I wanted to also perform. So I took classes at the Groundlings, and I started writing. I took a writing class at UCLA Extension, which was like night school.
I did that too.
Week. And my I remember I had to get to LA by September 10th to get to this first class that I'd registered for. And I got there and I found out the teacher's only writing credits were like a story credit on The Love Boat. And so that's what I had put all, I got to get to LA for this. And so, but I learned a lot about like structuring a story. And then, you just start finding your way. And the things you have to do, like I started working odd jobs. I worked at the Gap. I waited tables. I know you waited tables for way too long.
Oh my God, forever.
Yeah.
I waited tables for like 17 years, 15 years in the same place.
Was it that long?
It was. I mean, from the beginning, from when I got here to when I got some sort of success, it was almost that long.
Yeah.
You know?
Golly. I remember
I didn't get any type of success until I was 40.
That's all right. You got it.
Yeah, no, I love it because I had a bit of a level head at that point where I wasn't gonna go insane, so it actually I've never been like the industry darling. I've never been the guy who's at the comedy festival in Canada up there. Never that guy. Never an agency favorite. But I've managed to make a pretty good career at it for a long time now. Yeah. Just on a certain level.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, so I remember you introduced me to Chelsea Handler because she came to Richmond and did a show and you got us back there to meet her. And her thing was, it took Chris a long time to realize he didn't have to wait tables, because we were just talking about how funny you were. And so
she was waiting tables next to me for a little while. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Look at that. It's still, I can see you actually even better.
Okay. Oh, can you see me better? Is this all right? No, if this thing's screwed, I'm screwed. Oh, well.
Actually, I used to wait tables with Meghan Markle.
I saw you posted actually a very nice thing when she got married, the big royal wedding. Yeah. And you posted something about you were having a bad night and she made it better for you. Yeah,
she was great. I worked with her like a year and a half, interestingly enough.
Cool. Yeah. So she's cool.
She was pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Good.
Yeah, so that's it. And then, Chelsea
she's rich. She's rich now.
Maybe not anymore. I don't know.
We don't know.
They still get that money? Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
She may be back at Maribel soon.
It's closed. Unfortunately, it's closed. Because I might have to go back soon, too, if this keeps up the way it's going.
Yeah. This is brutal.
Are you guys currently, you're not in production, right? Family Guy.
Can you see me better now? Can you see this sweet do that I just got?
It looks good.
Yeah, Family Guy actually is in production.
Oh, really?
The virtual nature of it all is, the artists, I guess, took their computers home and they can draw, and the writers are working on Zoom, and the actors are doing temp tracks on their phones and sending them in so that they can animate to that, and then we'll replace them later. So
you guys might be the only guys who are working.
I think, animation can kind of power through to a large extent. Obviously this thing's not going to go on that long, hopefully not for any more than a month or two.
Yeah.
Before we're all back to sort of working regularly. But
And do you come out to LA to do it?
I record from a studio here in Virginia usually, and
Yeah.
then I'll go out there about a week per month to check in. And I've got some other things sort of brewing that I go out there to touch base on. And
I went and watched your pilot over at the fancy Family Guy studios there.
oh yeah, yeah, and Seth MacFarlane's building. Yeah, yeah. I shot this pilot a few years ago. I just wrote it and tried to sell it. Nobody bought the freaking thing, but I thought it was good. You liked it, right?
I enjoyed it. Yeah, I thought it was real good.
Oh wow, that's the
Yeah.
biz, huh?
Oh, I mean, selling anything is next to impossible. And then you
Yeah.
watch some of the shit that's on, you're like, well, really? But there's so many different avenues, even more, every day. I wonder if you could just continue to just throw these things out and see if it goes to somewhere else.
Yeah,
I mean,
I might go ahead and screen it while everybody's locked down right now. Just throw it up on a site and try to get as many eyes on it as I can or something.
why not? Yeah.
Why not? Hey,
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I was going to ask you about the tough times, but you've just talked about waiting tables for that long.
Honestly, I enjoyed the shit out of waiting tables, which is probably why I did it for so long. I was
Yeah.
never one of those guys who hated it, so
Right.
I think I probably hung out a little too long, longer than I should have, because I was
Right.
making enough money back then. LA is so different now, but back then you could make money enough to live here and have
Yeah.
your own apartment and a car. So
Yeah.
I was doing fine, and I liked the lifestyle. I liked the late nights and the party aspect of it.
Yep.
And so I loved it.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
And so your buddy Carl, what's Carl McKeenan up to now? He was so back in the day, we're all just out there. We're fledgling, wannabe performers.
Right.
And Carl was an
Yeah.
actor, and you're a very good friend from home, I think, right?
Yeah, we came out to LA together. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and I know he had, I saw him on NYPD Blue one time, and I was just like, holy shit, he's made it.
Oh, he's
And,
done. He is well. He had a big run on Walking Dead last couple of seasons. He had a big part on that. He was on there for 3-4 seasons. But he's a very successful restaurant. He has like 3 to 4 pretty successful restaurants here in LA. So.
Oh,
and he's also never worked more in acting. He's in a ton. He's in that Harrison Ford Call of the Wild that was just out. He's in that.
Really? All right. I was gonna watch that with my daughter. She loves dogs.
Yeah, I think he was cut out, and he filmed it. Yeah, but anyway,
now I'm not gonna watch it.
He's done a ton of shit.
That's cool. So you were grinding, and so from the time, the Judy Carter stand-up comedy workshop. I signed up for this thing. Now back, of course there was no internet. We'd have to go to this bookstore called the Samuel French Bookstore on Sunset, which was where you would go to get publications or find breakdowns for auditions. And I found this book, and so that's where I knew about the workship from, and I signed up for
me
it.
Me too. Same thing. Although I think there was a Samuel French also on Ventura Boulevard.
Yep.
And I did the same thing. And then I met you and Richie Hanrahan and Barry Stringfellow.
Yeah.
3 guys who we became really good friends throughout.
For a long time.
Playing a lot of, and then we would all get together and play
softball and touch football up by the Hollywood sign. Yeah, on Sundays.
Exactly.
I was telling my wife that recently. We were out there, and I just distinctly remember, going up and playing touch football and maybe catching a little buzz, and then driving back over the hill on the 405, just shirtless in my car. Just drinking Gatorade. That was freedom back then.
That was great. It was great. Yeah. That was fun. And then you did real well. Real well as Family Guy.
Yeah, man. Got I've talked about this recently, but I put in my time, like as we all did. You certainly put in plenty of time, but just that waiting, the waiting, not just the waiting tables, but the waiting, I remember I worked at the Daily Grill in Brentwood, and back in the day I'd have a cigarette from time to time, and I just remember standing out on this balcony and just smoking a cigarette and just thinking all right, this is okay. I don't like doing all this crap and making $50 all night and putting up with some BS and whatever, but I'm just waiting for the world to line up for me, because I'm
Yeah.
doing what I need to do, and at some point the rest of the world's going to line up and it's all going to intersect.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
and I believe that's what happened. But I was extremely driven. I would make short films with my brother.
Yeah.
Send you guys tapes and stuff, and show stuff, and I was kind of ready when I got the call. So
As a matter of fact, one of those things you did, kicked in the nuts. You guys used to do a thing called "kicked in the nuts,"
yeah, yeah,
and I had very early on had an interview with Chelsea for another show, not Chelsea Lately,
yeah,
another show called the Chelsea Handler Show on E. And the
right.
guys who produced it were huge fans of Kicked in the
Of
Nuts.
Kicked in the Nuts. Yeah, I think
Yeah, so
they licensed
they
it, I
did.
think.
Yeah, so I went into that meeting, and they would showed it to me, and I said, "Oh, I know though. That's Patrick and Mike Henry. They're friends of mine."
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, you could hook that up, get it." I said, "Yeah." I could. So I wound up kind of getting the job because of that. Because
Nice.
I called you, and you were like, "Yeah, go ahead and use it." And they wound up putting it on one of them, and that show became Chelsea Lately. They just turned it into
Yeah.
Chelsea Lately, so it
Yeah, I
all worked
remember.
out.
It's
Yeah,
funny because another thing, like, again, just I like focusing on the grind here a little bit, because a lot of people want to go do something, but a lot of people don't do it, and they don't do it because it's hard as shit, and the
right.
unknown is frightening. But I remember going to a seminar at the American Film Institute, just like that, a producer speaking. I think his name was Larry Lawrence Gordon, maybe, produced huge blockbuster
Oh
films,
yeah, yeah.
and he said, look around you, you people that are just getting into this, look around you. You are all salmon swimming up a stream. Look around you and find the other salmon who you think are going to make it up that stream and become friends with them. And
Right.
I didn't really consciously do that, but your point with, the Chelsea stuff is like you meet people and then it just all starts connecting. And then, eventually you find yourself in a position of being able to call some shots, which is when
Right.
it gets really good.
Yeah, and also in waiting tables, you wait. You're with so many other guys who are in the business, actors, comedians, whatever, but they don't do anything. Like I was one of the few people who every day after I got off work, I would go do 4 minutes at some open
Yeah.
mic,
Oh, yeah.
every night. But the other guys, they'd had a headshot and but they would wait for auditions and never do anything. Like
Yeah.
almost every guy I worked with was an actor, but they never worked or did anything or tried. So for
Right.
that reason, I just kind of made it, or whatever you'd call it, because I just worked at it.
Yeah. Yeah. So what breaks did you start? Was Chelsea kind of your big break? That's what
Chelsea was my big break for, that, what I needed. I TV was tough to get on. And, once I got on, I was a writer on her show, and almost like you guys are in Family Guy, the writers also kind of became the cast of that show in a
Yeah.
weird way.
Yeah.
So, once I got on TV, we were ready to kind of, and then right from there, I already had enough to be a headliner on the road,
Right.
because I was doing stand up so much here in LA that
Go ahead.
immediately kind of Chelsea Lately, you were on it for a year. Every club in the country wanted you because you would sell tickets. So I went
Right.
out on the road, and I was a headliner right away. I never really featured or emceed. I went kind of right to headliner,
Right.
and I was loving it. I still do.
But you
I
still
love
had
it. Right?
but you still had your chops. You were still on stage
Oh
all the
yeah,
time.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I was ready to go. I'm a good stand-up. I'm a,
Yeah.
I don't do many things good, but I'm a pretty good live act.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're. And when I met you, I was like, this is the funniest guy in this fucking class right here. Like,
Yeah.
because you're one of those guys that's funny. Some people
Right.
are in the business that aren't necessarily that funny, but they've learned a craft and they can work. But you're that great combination of actually funny and hardworking and persevering. So
Yeah.
that's why you're successful. So after the Judy Carter workshop, after 1991, I remember
Right.
doing some open mics, and I referenced the coffee roasters. Like literally, you would have to go like on a Thursday and get up at 10:40,
Yeah.
and tell your jokes over the cappuccino machine. And it's all those things you've ever heard about the hard life of stand-up. But
Yeah.
you said you were started working a lot around LA. How did that go? And when did you first set out on the road? Like, once you had your 10 minutes, like where did it go from there?
It just stayed in LA. I mean, I didn't really hit the road until I had the Chelsea Lately success and I was able to sell tickets. It's hard to do the road if you're not a name and
Yeah.
you don't have the TV credit. So I would do LA every night. And I didn't do the improvs or the Comedy Store or the Laugh Factory that like most guys do. I did alternative place called Red Rock and a lot of alternative rooms, and I became like one of the better ones in that kind of scene.
Talk to me about what an alternative room. Now, I think of alternative, and I think of storytelling, and I think of not and sort of avant-garde, as opposed to straight up set up joke.
Well, I mean, not even like alternative comedy. I'm talking the rooms with the alternative to
right.
Okay. the because back, I don't know if you remember, like the Comedy Store and the Improv and the Laugh Factory now are just they're huge line down the block. You can't get in, packed. But they weren't that way 15 years ago. Comedy Store there was 6 people in there on a Saturday night watching the show. It went through some good times and some bad times. So
why is that? Is that
I don't know.
I don't know. I think remember there was stand up on TV all the time.
Yeah, I think a little bit of that happened. I think they started to rent. What happened was they started to rent out the rooms. Improv did it. Laugh Factory did it to just anyone who wanted it. They were like, if you could get 100 people in here, and they would put up basically open mic comedians, and they would, they could bring 20 people because they were doing it for the first time, and people would go and they'd watch terrible comedy for 3 hours.
That was a lot of the businesses. Can you bring 10 people?
It. Yeah, and that almost it ruined stand up for a long time.
Yeah,
that model, and because people would go, people think, oh, that's the Improv, I'll go, and they saw amateurs, people doing it, and they were like, well, this is stand up comedy, this is the worst thing I've ever seen.
Right.
So then when they started to get, now you look at the Improv or the Comedy Store, it's headliner after headliner after headliner. So people go and they're like, oh, this is amazing. I'm coming back tomorrow or the next. So that's why it's back, because there's just not amateurs on stage anymore.
Right. I'm talking to Chris Franjola, my buddy of about 30 years, and we're talking about following the comedy life or living the comedy life and just doing what you want to do. And, a lot of people don't do that. And so, we're lucky and we sucked it up and here we are. But so back in the day, I just remember, obviously we're broke and, just going, week to week to cover the bills or whatever. But I just remember how alive that felt. I just remember, like doing those stand-up, those open mics and having to hear the same people do their same jokes over and over and over. But then we would just start making fun of people that, like we just, we were so familiar with what was going to happen. And then going out afterwards and, just having a couple beers and laughing and being freaking 28. And
it was the best. Like, I would meet you and Rich and Stringfellow. We'd meet at wherever, Dublin's or whatever, at the open, we all sign up. And then we'd watch some terrible people and we'd watch some good people. And then it was great. You mind
if I tell one of your blue jokes that I remember?
No, go ahead.
So we were at was it the Hollywood Palm Hotel? Like what was that over kind of near the Hollywood Bowl? I don't remember what the name of the hotel was. Yes, I do remember it. It was a terrible room, and there was a woman that was emceeing the thing, and we were all a few of us worked really blue, meaning we just said a lot of filthy jokes.
That's a classic amateur thing, It's just like when in doubt, just go as blue as possible.
Right. I hope I don't screw this up, but I remember she said, she sort of lectured a few of us in a row and just said, a lot of times it's funnier if you don't say the word, if you just sort of say, woo woo.
Yeah.
And so your joke, I don't remember if you did it in front of the crowd or not, but you just said, yeah, so I'm doing this chick up the ass, and she says, hey, take it out of there and put it in my woo woo.
Yeah.
And
I do. I remember, and I also remember that was the guy who ran that room, some terrible, whatever agent, and he told me he told me his favorite comedian. He said, you should be more like Roger Dangerfield. I was like, is that
good.
Is that Rodney's brother? I don't know who that is.
I saw Rodney at the Improv one time. We were doing, I think, an open mic or something, and Rodney was just hanging out, waiting to go up later or something. And I just remember he just stumbled by, going, oh, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Like I was just like, holy
Yeah.
shit, there's Rodney Dangerfield. So that was cool.
He was I met him one time. He was super nice to one of those guys who was like real nice, like young comics. He always like willing to help out and stuff. So yeah, he was a good guy.
Yeah, yeah. And then there was some
Years later went to some weird thing where his wife, he's been dead for years, and they were giving him some honorary trophy or something, and his wife was all, ex-wife, whatever, fifth ex-wife. She
Right.
had a few, and she got up there and made some rambling speech, and then I went out. It was a real sad way for Rodney to go out.
Right. Well, that's appropriate, I guess.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, no, he was the best. So what do you so you're on the David Spade what's
Lights
the
Out with
production?
David Spade, yeah.
What's
It's
the
fun,
schedule on that? Do you tape every day during the week, or is it tape a bunch of them in a row, or what do you
Yeah,
do?
they
Talk
do.
about that show for anybody who doesn't know what it is.
It's basically honestly a lot like Chelsea Lately in the way that it's comedians talking about the topics of the day, pop culture stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and just a round table with comedians and Spade, Comedy Central 11:30, but now it's shut down due to everything. So he's doing it on his Instagram. Spade's continuing to do it from his house. I did it yesterday. And you kind of do it from here, kind of like what we're doing here. It's great. Yeah. I mean, David Spade, have you met him along the way?
I've not met him, no.
No? Great guy. I mean, just I haven't met him either. I didn't really know him up until I started doing the show. But, I mean, super, super great guy. And, so it's fun working with, people like that who've been around a long time. He loves stand-up. He loves talking about it. So, it's a fun show to be a part of.
Was he a stand-up?
Yeah, he's great. He's great.
Okay,
he's great. Honestly, people always ask me what my favorite special is. He has a special. It's got to be 20 years old now. I think it's called Take the Hit or something like that. But it was HBO special. He's one of the best. His stand-up is great.
Sweet. I'll check that out. Take the Hit?
Yeah, I think it's called Take the Hit. Right. I mean, it might be a little dated. No, actually, I think it still holds up. It's a great special.
Sweet. So, what are you aspiring to? Are you on the road a lot right now?
I am.
So
I'm on the road a lot.
How do you balance that? How do you balance, you just obviously work around the Spade schedule, or do you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not on Spade every day, like I was with Chelsea. Chelsea, I was there every day, but Spade, I'm not there every day. So, that's no problem for me to balance that. The stand-up to me, honestly, that's where at this point, I would like the stand-up to become, I love it. I love the clubs. But so many guys are blowing out of clubs and into theaters and things like that now because of Netflix and so much, whatever, YouTube, things like that.
Right.
So I'd like to get to the point where I'm doing, I'm selling out clubs and then on to smaller theaters and stuff. It's that's I love it. I enjoy doing stand-up now more than ever.
Right. Okay. That's cool. So how many nights a year do you do in general?
Oh man.
On the road.
I do probably 3 weekends a month on the road. So, I'm out there.
Right.
Some months, like during the summer, I'll take off a little bit. But I grab any, if they have me an offer, I take it usually.
Right. So that's where you're heading now. That's what you want to do. Is there anything beyond that, or you just kind of look at the next level and work toward that?
I tell you, I've been doing this podcast called Cover to Cover. And I kind of started it late in the podcast game. I know everyone's like, there's already 1 million podcasts, but I've never had more fun. I love doing it. It's so much fun. And I'm a huge Howard Stern fan, so I kind of almost do it. It's like I do kind of like almost a Howard Stern type show. And it's been huge for me. It sells tickets on the road. It has been even like since, Chelsea Lately really was, but Spade, not so much selling tickets. This podcast is a thing that really blows up.
Right,
if you look at if you look at stand-ups now, guys who are really selling tickets, they're not on TV. They're all podcasts. Rogan and I don't know how familiar you are with the podcast world, but
Not
all these
much.
guys, Bert Kreischer and all these guys, they're all from podcasts, and they
Okay.
sell huge.
So do you?
Hey, look, there's people right now commenting on how great my podcast is.
There you
Nancy
go.
Bonita.
Thank you, Nancy. All right, and Christy Bleak
Yeah.
loves your podcast.
Yeah, it's
That's
fun.
great.
It's a good time.
All right, so I'm a douche because I haven't seen it. So tell me about, like, do you interview people, or do you just talk about stuff, or what do you do?
Well, I set out to be co-host and host, but
Right.
it kind of turned out he's only a 26-year-old guy, so
Right.
it
So
works
there's no
out.
honor in sound guys or being 26. So you've lifted him up in the world.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and it turns out he was it worked. Just the two of us kind of rapping back and forth about pop culture news and stuff. It
Okay.
kind of worked, and so I think guests kind of slowed us down a little bit.
Right.
So I think people really like just hearing the two of us. I've had some guests. I've had some, comedian friends of mine and stuff, and people like that. But I think for the most part, they just like having us on. So
Sweet.
and I don't have to worry about getting guests. That's one of the most difficult things doing podcasts is having to get a guest. I don't know if you've done Adam Ray's, right?
I have, yeah. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
gonna be sitting where you are tomorrow night. I'm gonna
Oh,
interview
cool.
him.
Yeah. So I've done Adams too. I mean, those guys, they got to get a guest every week, and it's kind of
That's
a
a
pain.
grind. That's a lot of work. I mean, I did this for
Yeah.
a week. I mean, this is a week, and I'm like, I'm gonna do more of these next week, but I'm just like, this is a lot. It is a lot of work just getting this shit coordinated.
I know it's crazy, and it's like it's a big ask of people to spend. Well, this is much easier because you don't have to leave the house, but for a podcast, you have to get them to, drive and go to their studio or whatever. So
Right.
Yeah.
So what else? So how do you feel about all of this lockdown right now? What's your, just without thinking about it, like just the grand scheme, and
it's funny. I have been talking about this. I get this magazine called New Scientist magazine at my house every month, and they have been talking about this coronavirus in this magazine since November. So I've been kind of on the podcast talking about it in a joking way. And I kept saying it's going to get worse. So then a couple of weeks ago on Spade, we were laughing about it. And I said something like, it'll be real funny to look back on this episode in a few weeks when it's closed down the entire country. I said it like a month ago on Spade. So, I mean, I've never seen anything quite like it. I don't even know what to think of it. And I'm concerned that, I mean, you guys are good. Like your show doesn't have to, you guys do live. I mean, I see you do like theaters and stuff.
We've done Family Guy Live.
Yeah.
We did Montreal, Toronto, Carnegie Hall, New York a couple times, Chicago, LA, the Wiltern. But there's nothing on the books for that.
So you're not gonna. Yeah, but I don't know if even comedy clubs. I just don't know if it comes back. Like if it comes back to the point where you're sticking 350 people into a packed club anymore. Like you and I, you're a baseball guy. I'm a baseball guy.
Yeah.
I mean, am I going to be able to go to Citi Field and watch the Mets with 52,000 people ever again? I don't know.
Well, of course you will, but I think the question is how soon. And I think we were going to try to go to like the home run derby and stuff at Dodger Stadium this summer. Sort of, and that maybe they'll kick off the season with something like that. But you can't imagine anytime real soon going, and my wife and I were talking about this today, we'll fly somewhere. We want to go on a vacation this summer, but we want to go see, I'm a big Grateful Dead fan, and Dead and Company has been playing, and they're going to tour this summer, and we're like, I don't know if we're going to try to do any of that. We'll fly somewhere.
I don't even know if they will do. Yeah, like is this tour still going on?
It hasn't been called off. It's supposed to start in July, just go for
that might,
but
yeah.
I mean, who knows? But I wouldn't be particularly comfortable getting too close right now.
Exactly. And I just read that new proposal, the MLB to start in May, and somewhere in Arizona, all games in Arizona, and no dugouts. And I'm like, well, just forget it. Who wants to watch that?
That's sort of like a cock ring.
Yeah,
That
yes. It's
that just
just
that wouldn't feel right to
nah.
me. Maybe some people like that.
I know. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I would not
Uh,
go for that.
yeah, but I do think in the grand scheme, I mean, it's such a change on such a large scale that it makes you think very profoundly about it. And I feel like I feel like there's good stuff that is going to come out of this. I know it's
Right.
horrible, and I'm extremely fortunate to not be in the front lines and not be terribly affected by this. We're definitely helping folks who need it, but I'm enjoying the time with my family. I'm enjoying
Yeah.
this, just getting
Right.
creative and doing some different things. And I'm sort of just thinking about things that I've been spending time doing that aren't important. It's just kind of
Yeah.
like a reset of just priorities. So, you
Yeah.
know,
That is one of the good points. I mean, yeah. Who would have thought you'd be spending this much time not working? Just home.
yeah,
So it is, and you do have to find other outlets. I mean, first of all, it's TV. Everything's changed so much. The landscape of all of this. You
yeah,
guys have continued to remain on Fox, as a hit show. Which, by the way, I don't know. Like both you and I, at least have had hit show. Like Chelsea Lately was a hit, and
yep.
your show. Like it's so fucking hard to get a hit,
It is impossible.
and to be a part of a hit show.
Yeah,
Uh, I mean, you're smart enough to just, hang on and keep doing it.
sure.
That's my one bit of advice to anyone. It's just like if you get on a hit, you just stay until it just burns
Yeah,
out and is never heard from. Yeah, it's
yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah. I mean, the success of Family Guy is relatively unheard of, other than The Simpsons, and it's in large part due to the fact that the characters don't change their appearance. They don't grow. Stewie would
Yeah,
be
yeah. I
23
guess I,
right now.
I guess I
And
never thought about it.
yeah, and so The Simpsons is, years ahead of us, but that they're in the same boat. The torch has been passed to different writers, and but the voices generally stay the same, and
Yeah,
but it's I don't know. Family Guy was a perfect show for its time. And it was actually
right.
slightly ahead of its time, because I remember in the writer's room at the very beginning, the writers, like the PAs, would have to run to the library to get reference material on
I
stuff.
remember you had me. I
Yeah,
went for like a week or
yeah.
two to and it was this place not over the kind. I live in the valley now. It wasn't far from over
It's on
here.
Laurel Canyon across from Gelson's.
That's exactly right. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. I wound up working. The Chelsea Lately show originally started in that same building.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So it was, yeah, yeah. It was. I mean, totally different world than it
Right.
is now.
But once Family Guy was canceled for a short time due to politics and bad ratings, whatever. But it came back as the internet came back, and the format of Family Guy is there are 5 second standalone memes per se in an episode.
Yeah,
So and also the episodes aren't particularly timely. They're not current events, and a
right.
lot of that's due to the production that takes a year, to make a show. And so you can watch, and also the gags that have nothing to do with an episode or a story. You can watch an episode that you've seen before and forget which jokes are in it because they
Yeah.
don't have anything to do with the story sometimes. And so
Yeah. It's
it was just
amazing how people love it. I mean, they love it. You mention
yeah,
it to anybody, and they're like, "Oh, you can sit and watch it on whatever TBS, whatever it's on,
right.
just constantly in reruns." Like you said, you can pick it up at any time, 15 minutes in, and just let it roll, and
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I credit Seth with that. I mean, I don't even know if he had the vision for that. He just made what he made, and it was a perfect time to do it. And, I'm just extremely lucky. And I was 8 years into my struggle, and I've talked about this in the past few nights of waiting tables, moving to Virginia to shoot shorts and
Right.
hustle, living on credit cards in New York, and, just not having any idea where all of this was going to lead. And, fortunately, I was extremely driven, and I got my at bat when I was ready. And so
Right.
it was a great, and
Yeah.
that's back to me smoking that cigarette at the Daily Grill, waiting for the world to line up while I'm just doing my thing. And I think that's what I like to tell young people is just do your thing, follow it, you don't know, Family Guy didn't exist when I set out. I wanted to be on SNL or, I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Right.
So, you just kind of follow your instinct.
And you guys were doing such funny shit, though. I mean, what was that? Remember you did that sketch with the guy had he was a little kid with a big dick.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
The Upright Citizens Brigade. That was the Little
that's right.
Donnie
That's right.
Foundation.
Yeah.
Patrick and I helped them
And
put this film together.
right. And
Um,
then way back, I mean, I think you do some of those characters now on Family Guy stuff you would do in prank phone calls
yeah,
30 years ago.
yeah.
I mean, that's
But it's all organic, and and for me, I was doing commercial parodies and silly characters, and I met Seth when he was a student at RISD, Rhode Island School of Design, with my brother Patrick, and
yeah,
we sort of gravitated to each other's comedy, and so it was perfect. My skill set was perfect for Family Guy, doing short form, just cutaway jokes and creating some of these random characters. That's just what I had been doing anyway. So,
yeah.
So what do you like to? What do you most like to joke about? Do you joke about everything, or you're a very pop culture-y kind of guy on TV?
Yeah, I do a little of that. I mean, I do a little of the pop culture stuff, and then I'm a storyteller. I have two jokes that pretty much could take up the entire 40 minutes of my act. If
Right.
so yeah, it's a good show. My stand-up is better than it's ever been, but that's just the way stand-up works. You just keep getting better. You look back on last year, and you're like, I wouldn't do that again. I wouldn't. I used to work very blue. I don't really do that anymore.
Right.
I'm not perfectly clean either, but yeah, I mean, I've learned a lot along the way.
Right. You don't.
So
You only need to work blue when it is organic to what you're talking about.
right.
Just you don't. You're not looking for the cuss word to get the laugh, but the cuss word is just sort of window dressing on where you're going sometimes.
Oh yes, exactly. And then there's a lot of times, especially when you're on the road, in a club, things get a little rowdy, second shows, things like that, and you sometimes have to go a certain direction that you don't necessarily want to go,
Right.
because doing a low key act is just not going to work.
Right.
You'll get eaten alive, at a midnight show in Omaha, Nebraska. So
how do you deal with hecklers? I mean, what's your general theory?
It's the worst. I don't mind it because I almost blame myself sometimes, because I do kind of encourage it. I do kind of have a very kind of open act where the audience, it's almost inviting the audience to kind of say things.
Yeah.
And I can handle it. I can handle anything. It's not a problem. But when they just don't stop, when that's when it's just like, this is just not going to work. Or when they try to be funny back, that never works. But I have, over the years, you learn the tricks. You learn how to get out of it. And there's, even still, there are nights where I just can't get out of it. And, it's just, you just got to be like, all right, well, this will be over soon enough.
Yeah. The nature of the beast.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So, what are you itching to get out and do most? Are you locked? I mean, you're locked down. You're just going to the grocery store and getting out and walking around.
That's
and,
it.
whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
what part of town do you live in?
I live in the Valley, like Sherman Oaks.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I've been fine. We got a lot of green around us, like I was saying before, and I'll go hit the grocery store as soon as it opens with my sweet mask on, and but I'm kind of missing the juice place. I'm kind of missing, going out to dinner.
Me too. I was just saying that today, Mike. I was like, this is the first day. We've been doing this a couple weeks now, that I've been like, all right, I'm ready for it to be over. Honestly, the weird thing is, I'm missing, when I'm on the road, I stay at some cities, they don't have a Ritz-Carlton. So I'd say Hilton Garden Inn or whatever it may be.
Right.
And I'm missing that. I'm missing just checking into the hotel and getting ready and going to the show at 8:00.
Right.
That's kind of stuff I'm missing.
So hospital workers right now are listening to us and feeling so sympathetic.
I know. They got it rough right now, but this might. I hope that's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, it's like you don't want to complain too much because it's pretty great.
Yeah.
And, but, I just found out an old neighbor died from it yesterday, just an older lady. And,
Right.
it's just like, shit, man, this is, that's as close as it's come personally to me. I mean, I've watched the
Yeah.
news and we've reached out and, like I said, helped some folks out, but it's, I just, I don't know. I feel like a dick complaining about anything, frankly.
I
But
get you. Sure, yeah. But I mean, well, yeah, we all have our complaints. It's fucking with everybody's life right now. I mean, I don't think there's one person, probably in the entire world, who's not affected by this, in one way or another, and
yeah,
mostly adversely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it blows. Yeah, man. Well, anything? Trying to think of back in the day, we would play touch football under the Hollywood sign.
And the Hollywood sign, yes.
What was
It
that
was a
road
dog
that?
park, but
What was that?
it was a dog park.
Yeah.
Now it's like really a dog park. You couldn't even play there anymore. But
Okay.
and we used to play with like some. I think Keanu Reeves played a couple of times. There was like some
Yeah.
Michael Rappaport used to play all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had quite a few guys. It was great. Even like I don't know if it was Sandler. Those guys,
Yeah.
we were involved in that world a little
Yeah.
bit. I don't know if you
Jonathan
remember
Lochran and Alan Covert and those
those guys.
guys.
Yeah, all
And
those. Yeah.
and Hanrahan, I got to mention Rich Hanrahan. He was such a sweetheart, and we all met at that workshop, and he was kind of a tough guy from New York, and
Right.
that was his persona, and he's one of the guys that didn't make it, and he died, a few
Yeah.
years after we all met, and I think about him, and I'm still in touch with his mom,
Yeah.
but it's the people that a lot of people don't make it in the career, but then some people don't make it in life, so
Right.
that it's things like that make me feel so grateful for my life and for everything. So
I agree. Yeah. And
really
Richie was, I mean, he was younger than us,
Yeah.
8 or 10 years, I think, and so funny. Like at 22 years old, he was so funny. So that's
Yeah.
one of those guys who, if he just stayed on the track, I mean, he would have been, who knows
Yeah.
what he would have been these days.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. What can you say? Miss old
Yeah,
Richie.
what can you say?
That was a
Yeah.
long time ago too, man. That was
Oh,
90
long time.
96. Yeah, like I think around 96. Yeah. So 24 years he's been gone. But
Right. Yeah.
but
Yeah, I just went
yeah.
through. I just went through a similar thing. I don't know. You guys probably knew him as well. I think he was over at Family Guy doing some voice. But Brody Stevens,
Yeah.
a year ago, or whatever, same type of thing. And Brody was our warm-up guy on Chelsea for a long time.
Yeah.
So we went. I went through a similar thing with that. And he was just so loved in the, not only comedy and like the baseball world as well. So
Yeah.
it was.
It's
He's
that
great.
thing where you don't know, you love somebody so much or just love being around them, you don't realize that you love them until they're gone sometimes,
Right.
but you just love being around them, and they're always they're always there for you, and they're always cool and fun and funny, and then, you don't know what they're really dealing with. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, like I guess Robin Williams would be the example of that. Like
Exactly.
he was just so fucking funny, and what a shock.
Yeah.
But
Right.
none of us is getting out of here alive. So,
Good point.
I truly, again, appreciate every day and appreciate that I sucked it up and did what I had to do to get here. And you've done the same thing. And,
Yeah.
you're just living the life you want to live. You're not saying, you're not still an electrician wishing you were doing what you're doing.
No.
And a lot of people are fine with it, and there's nothing wrong as long as you're doing what you want to do.
I totally agree. I got lucky, I mean, honestly, so did you. Like, there's a huge amount of luck in this business, and if you get the opportunity as you did and I did, you just have to be good once you get. I knew I was good. I never doubted the fact that I was good and funny.
Right.
So that wasn't a problem. So once I got the offers like with Chelsea and some other things. I didn't sweat it at all. I was never
Yeah.
nervous about it. I was never because I knew I could handle it.
Yeah.
There are other things in life that I couldn't handle as well, so that wasn't fun to do. But comedy stuff, shit, I have no problem with that.
Yeah. That's because you're fucking funny.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you're funny and you do it. You don't talk
Yeah,
about doing it, you do it.
right.
But well, I guess we can, sort of wind down unless there's anything else you want to bring up. I know.
That's it. I mean, I wish I had some dates to plug, but they've all been canceled. So,
Yeah.
I won't be back out on the road till hopefully July. We'll see. We'll see if it,
Yeah.
opens
I
back
think
up.
I do think, once the scare, once the reality and then the scare, there's gonna be a lag where people are gonna be afraid to dive back in for a
Right.
little bit. I think once all that's over, I think people are gonna be living with gusto, and I think people are gonna want to go to
I hope
comedy
so. I
clubs
mean,
and ball games and concerts.
I've heard rumors that once we do come back from all this, they're gonna slash like the amounts of people they allow into certain. Like, I mean, I heard instead of whatever Dodger Stadium, let's say, holds 52,000, whatever it holds, now they're gonna only let 10,000 in.
Really?
That's
Okay.
what I've heard. I don't know if that's true or not, but so there'll be social distancing. People won't be sat right on top of each other.
Right.
So, I mean, these are just the way the world might change from all this.
Right. Right. Well, there's a lot of jokes I could make, but I'd probably offend a lot of people right now about numbers of
Don't you
people
dare.
allowed in stalls in certain areas,
Right.
bathrooms. So I'm not going to make that.
I hear you. Yeah.
But
Mhm.
anyway, Chris, thanks a ton, man. It was great
Thank you,
catching
Mike.
up. When
Yeah.
this is all over, when I'm out there, I'd love to, take our ladies out for dinner or something, or
That'd be
just
fantastic. I would
grab a
love
beer or
it.
something. I've not
Yeah.
met your wife. What is your wife's name?
My wife's name is Liz.
Liz. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we've talked in about 3 years
It's
since
been
I
about 3 years.
screened that thing
How
when
long
you
it's
were
been?
at.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah. But
anyway.
anytime, you let me know. I'm here. I'm in town. But I would
Yeah,
love it.
bud. We do this. We touch base from like every 5 years or so, and
Every
it's
5 years.
the
Well,
same
I'm a
deal.
fan of your work.
Hey,
I
right
love
back
it.
at you, buddy.
I think you're hilarious, and I love all
Thanks,
you
Chris.
do
Yeah.
in that show.
You know what? I'm going. I'm going cover to cover tonight.
Give it a shot. I don't
I'm
know.
gonna check it out.
It's not for everybody.
I'm ready for some laughs.
Well, enjoy
So,
it.
awesome, man. Hey, much love to you, brother, and
Thanks, Mike.
continued success. We'll
All
see you
right. Good
soon.
luck to you and the family. Stay safe out there.
Thanks, man. Peace.
You got it. All right.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Later, man.